Production funding for Arts Upload has been provided in part by Muriel McBrien Kaufman Foundation, Hall Family Foundation, the Hartwig Family, Francis Family Foundation, Richard J. Stern Foundation for the Arts, Courtney S. Turner Charitable Trust, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Randy Mason.
And I'm Maris Aylward.
And we're headed down the rabbit hole this week with another edition of Arts Upload.
With stories about films and filmmakers.
Some parking lot printmaking and another look at a one man and his dog show.
All that and more ahead on the Upload.
Okay, before there was Tribeca, Sundance, before there was South by Southwest, there was always Cannes, or is it Cannes?
Well, either way, the world's filmmakers have been converging on France for the last 68 years, and they're at it again this month.
One of them, Patrick Ray, has Kansas City connections and a film he hopes to sell there.
Brad Austin spoke to Patrick about Enclosure and the tough job of getting your movie to the marketplace.
Well, my name is Patrick Ray. I'm an independent filmmaker. I'm based out of Kansas City. And I've been making films now since 2002, mostly full-time, and I've been able to sustain a living, barely. I think the difference between a studio film and an independent film is just the amount of workload that you have to take on as an independent filmmaker is a lot different. Obviously, with a studio film, you're responsible for a lot more money if the film fails. In terms of indie filmmaking, there's just lots of roles that you have to multitask. You have to take on a lot more roles to make sure the film gets finished. I always tell people sound is such a huge part of your movie. It's 75% of your movie. You can see the most beautiful image, and if it has bad sound that goes with it, you will not be able to be engaged with what you're watching. However, if you see something that doesn't look the greatest, obviously the Paranormal Activity movies are a good example because they're not visually stunning in any way. They're supposed to look like home video footage. But what makes those movies work is the meticulousness of the sound design, and it pulls you in, and like you feel it all around you in the theater, and it becomes this like amazing audience experience. Not because it's visually amazing, but because it has this amazing sound to go with it and scare people. Obviously, the film festivals, people always go, what's the point? What's the point of sending your film to a film festival? Well, first of all, you make the movie for an audience, so you want an audience to see the film, and it's a good way to gauge how your movie's playing because you can see the audience watching the film and say, okay, maybe I need to make some tweaks here or tweaks there, but it also gets your movie visible to buyers. Buyers do attend film festivals. So yeah, no, I think film festivals are very, very useful, and I make a lot of short films, and I like to play them as many film festivals as possible because it keeps my name out there for the public, and as long as my name is out there, I have a better shot at getting another feature film made and keep my living, keep myself alive, I guess, as a filmmaker and keep my career going. So my latest feature film, Enclosure, is going to have a screening at Cannes at the Film Market. The Film Market happens simultaneously with the Film Festival. In the Film Market, people bring their finished films through their sales agents and show them to buyers, and hopefully the buyers attend the screenings. But yeah, there's the Cannes Film Festival happens simultaneously, and that's a different thing than the Cannes Film Market, but it's all part of the same Cannes experience. So it's really exciting to have it be playing there and see if we were able to sell the film. Is a very exciting and nerve-wracking experience for me. So obviously I'll be biting my nails to hear what happens. So but I feel honored that it's happening, and I'm excited that the film is finally completed and able to start getting it out there, and hopefully people react well to it. As far as the future of film in Kansas City, I feel like the great thing is there's a lot of crew members are staying around here, and or even if they are working in Atlanta or Los Angeles, they come back to make films here. So I see this area growing. There's a good talent pool here. We've got lots of talented film students coming out of KU, UMKC, and a lot of them are getting their feet wet making films here. And a lot of people are coming back from Los Angeles to make their movies here because frankly, it's just more cost effective. I feel like the Kansas City film community is just going to keep growing. I think the KC Film Fest is doing fantastic. I feel like the Kansas International Film Festival is also fantastic. So we've got some great festivals around here to show your work, and a lot of amazing talent and really good commercial industry here for commercials and corporate videos. So I think that there's production houses here that provide the same gear that you could get in Los Angeles. So I feel like it's only going to get better.
Patrick Ray is based out of Lawrence, which leads nicely into our next story.
About the cult classic Carnival of Souls, soon to be released on Blu-ray as part of the Criterion Collection.
It's hard to believe, but this uber low-budget horror movie, directed by Lawrence's Herc Harvey back in 1962, is still finding fans today.
Though for some of us, the joys of the carnival never really went away.
It was great because we had a full house, and they laughed in all the right spots and were horrified in the right spots, so it worked very well.
Herc Harvey may be the only director with a movie in the Criterion Collection known for holding court in a donut shop. It was a common occurrence in Lawrence, Kansas back in the 70s and 80s. I know because I lived there back then, and on occasion was even cast in one of the Centron educational films Herc directed over the decades. Perhaps you remember my work in Shoplifters, The Criminal Horde. I remember when I discovered that Herc and his screenwriting buddy John Clifford made a feature film back in 1962 called Carnival of Souls.
When the movie was shot on location in Lawrence and Salt Lake City on a low budget of about $30,000.
Over the years, it started gaining momentum as one of those late-night TV horror classics, so naturally, I had to do a story about it for the place I worked back then, Sunflower Cablevision.
He symbolizes whatever you want him to symbolize. It can be evil, it can be death.
Over here it played in drive-in theaters on a double feature bill, but over in Europe it played in art houses as a new wave movie.
Believe it or not, that piece actually helped me get hired here. So the 80s are rolling along, the movie's buzz just keeps building, till 1989, when, with 4 minutes restored, Carnival of Souls is released on home video, VHS. Time for an update, don't you think? Which included a look at some of the places in Lawrence where key scenes had been filmed and how much they'd changed or hadn't. One thing that hasn't changed much is the Kansas River. Right around here is where they filmed the car being pulled out of the water. And of course, how a movie with zero special effects budget was still having such an effect.
All you can do is just out-top someone with what kind of a creature comes out of the stomach or how a head is cut off or this sort of thing. So they get so involved in the special effects of the film that the storyline is no longer important. And with John and us working together, I think his stories are important enough to make that the main thing rather than the special effects in the film.
I thought we had an unusual story, and I often read now that, the ending is predictable and all that, but I'm not so sure it was 30 years ago. And I thought people should have liked it more than they did.
Then in 1996, the carousel came crashing down. Herc Harvey passed away at the age of only 71. In his honor, we showed Carnival on the giant screen at the Englewood Theater, and it looked fantastic. Could have been the end of the story, but remember, this is the movie that just won't die. 4 years later, the Criterion Collection came calling. The folks in New York whose mission it is to find the greatest movies from around the world and release them in the highest quality possible, at the time, DVD. So, how does a movie that cost all of $32,000 end up standing alongside Fellini and Hitchcock, Herzog and Kubrick? Well, let's ask Susan Rostage in the Criterion Collection Library.
Just because it's low budget and it was, played in a drive-in maybe and shown on television doesn't make it not worthwhile. And it does have a lot of fans, from filmmakers you know, to scholars. You know, even Herc Harvey himself said he wanted to make the film with, you know, the look of a Bergman and the feel of a Cocteau. He really had an eye for things, and I think it fits in well next to all the Bergmans and the Cocteau films that we have.
Saltaire was a locale. I mean, maybe that's the key. He found the right spot, and everything happens from there. Is that?
Yeah, I think so. I think that, you know, Saltaire and other locations in Kansas, like the Reuter Organ Factory, and, you know, Candice Hilligoss is really so unusual and really pretty great in this movie, and completely ethereal and bizarre. And I think just her face goes a long way in keeping people engaged in the film.
And of course, Herc. I mean, maybe if he actually had the money to hire an actor, it wouldn't have had quite the impact that the man does.
I think he really liked to be involved in every part of the process, you know, and he was, you know, in a lot of those Centron commercials, you know, selling Centron services. I think he really wanted to be involved, and I think it's great because I think he's really, really good.
You've worked now twice on this, I guess.
Twice. I mean, I'll work again a third time if there's some other format that comes out. I mean, it really is one of my all-time favorite movies, and I hope that, you know, my love of the film extends into, you know, what we've produced here, and that other fans of the film will really appreciate this new edition.
When Carnival of Souls is released on Blu-ray in July, it will feature a new cover, and among the many bonus extras, a new video essay by film critic David Cairns. What it will not feature, though, is what you're about to see, courtesy of Rare Visions and Roadside Revelations. A few years back, knowing that we'd be passing the Great Salt Lake in our crowded van, and knowing that Don the camera guy had once purchased a pair of green loafers from Herc at a yard sale, we decided to stop and pay TV Weasel homage to our favorite hometown director.
These were his rumba shoes, he said. Saw the shoes and I said, Herc, why are you selling these shoes? And of course, the answer was obvious. He had already sold a suit.
May you do the dance macabre. Carnival director Herc Harvey.
Happy dancing, Herc. This wave's for you.
We like to say that Arts Upload proves that Kansas City is America's creative crossroads, and this next story fits right in.
It stars a steamroller and some students from the printmaking department at the Kansas City Art Institute.
No one gets hurt and some cool things emerge. Producer videographer John McGrath has the proof.
We're just glad it's a beautiful day.
Rollers with ink, and then they just apply it over onto this.
Oh, nice. Well, we're doing the Road Roller event, which is basically a project we do. We grab a whole bunch of blocks, and we just kind of carve them, and we come out here, we ink them up, and we use the steamroller over here. We go right through them, and it makes nice relief prints that we can, sell, or we can hang in our school. It's basically kind of what we do here today.
Just being out in the community is really, really awesome. Being able to, as a school, coordinate something that's more public and being able to show what we kind of do.
We love the fact that the Kansas City Art Institute is such an important part of our artistic community, and we wanted to celebrate it, give it a chance to be down here in the crossroads and bring all that together.
It's really, really neat to see the artwork and how delicate and how detailed it is. It's an awesome experience to watch them at work.
It's kind of like a breath of fresh air, kind of, for us to get away from our class stuff and just kind of focus on what we like to do, which is printmaking.
I think it's just a good awareness for the Art Institute and the printmaking department, and it just shows how we can get involved in the community and have some fun. Have the kids have some fun.
The theme's presidents and first ladies, so we thought it'd be funny to go with first mistresses instead. This is Marilyn Monroe, who allegedly slept with JFK, and Monica Lewinsky with Bill Clinton. And Eleanor Roosevelt had a lady lover over there, but I don't know her name. I can't remember these guys' names, but they also slept with different presidents.
Well, so now we're gonna lay the paper on top of it. We're gonna cut it right to its size, so we're gonna just lay it on top of this.
Putting the blanket over so it makes a smooth impression when we roll the steamroller over it. And that firms it up. And then we back over it. Oh, nice one. Beauty.
To put in ink on a piece of block with rollers. Did you see these giant rollers? Other people have been doing the paper, handling the printing part, and another person is actually driving the steamroller. So if you look at the history of print, it took about 12 people to pull a print. So each person has a very Ford-like assembly line job in the printing process. So people are inking, people are pulling out the paper, and people are actually doing the pressing.
Printmaking generally has been pretty collaborative through history, and so this is kind of just a take back to that, and so it allows us to bring back and be more public with printing.
It's a good chance to see the Art Institute students and see what they're doing.
All the effort these people put into it. Great experience.
The Lead Bank parking lot where all that took place is just a few blocks away from where we are right now, the Rabbit Hole.
And this place is just temporary, kind of a teaser for what the folks behind it ultimately hope will be something they call an Exploratorium.
Pete Cowden and Deb Pettit ran the Reading Reptile bookstore in Brookside for many years. They closed it in March to pursue this full-time.
All this stuff they've built is so you'll feel like you're literally inside a book. In this case, the incredible painting of Felix Clouseau by John Agee.
The plan is to find the right building. Might be in the crossroads, might not. And to create something that doesn't really exist anywhere else.
They've got some of the biggest names in children's literature endorsing it, and an Indiegogo campaign underway to move things along until they figure out what the next phase of the project might be.
Well, in just a couple of months, the Kansas City Fringe Festival will get going again with dozens and dozens of new theatrical productions.
One of last year's big successes was Bond, the story of a soldier and his dog.
So successful that Logan Black has performed it again at the Fish Tank, the World War I Museum, and the Johnson County Community College.
If you still missed it, well, here's another chance to see a real crowd pleaser, courtesy of producer Ashley Holcroft.
Diego! The same dream again.
Based on his 2006 tour of duty in Iraq, Bond chronicles the relationship between Logan Black and his bomb-detecting partner Diego. It all started in 1996, when fresh out of high school, Logan joined the Utah National Guard. In 2004, in deference to 9/11, Logan suspended his undergrad studies and went active duty with the Army. But there was just one problem.
The job I had there wasn't available in the military, so they said, we're going to reclassify you and make you a combat engineer. So primarily dealing with landmines and explosives and that sort of thing. It's a terrifying job. I found out about a new dog program that the DoD was doing in conjunction with the British Army. So I called the enlisted personnel branch at the Pentagon and say, there's a dog school, right, for engineers? And they said, yeah. And I said, I want to volunteer. And 2 weeks later, I came down on orders.
I first met Diego in 2005 as part of the Specialized Search Dog Course in Fort Leonard Wood, a few hours south of here. These guys had over 40 years of explosive detection work, and they were geniuses. Right, lads. Welcome to the Specialized Search Dog Course. Over the next 14 weeks, you and your sons will learn to detect over 40 individual explosive odors. IEDs, improvised explosive devices, have become the most lethal weapon insurgents are using against coalition forces, and they're damn good at it.
As destiny would have it, out of the 24 possible dogs, Logan was paired with that keen yellow lab.
We clicked instantly, and he was smart. So smart. He would cheat. About halfway through, Diego started finding devices faster than any other dog. And I don't mean running a 40-minute problem in 20 minutes. I mean he would almost run right to the bomb. After a few days of this, Ron realized that Diego was tracking his scent to where he was placing the bomb. We had to start changing up who set our problems so that Diego would just search. Oh, he was the perfect mixture of play drive, curiosity, and intelligence. And his nose.
Logan and Diego were partners for over a year, making incredible finds. Together, they discovered caches of over 250,000 pounds of weapons, explosives, IEDs, and ammunition. Because of the specialized task they performed, the pair weren't part of a specific unit, instead being assigned to missions with everyone from the SEALs to the Iraqi police. But this constant shifting bore with it a deep sense of isolation.
It was just me and Diego. I'd do a mission, we'd come home, I'd go back to my trailer, get ready for the next mission. I was left on my own to process all the emotions that were happening.
No! Diego! This way! Come! Come here! No. You're okay. Moving on to conduct a rapid search. Every fiber in my body is telling me that this is a car bomb. Come on, buddy. What's this?
So I know without him, had I been alone in those situations, or had I even been with a dog that we didn't have a personal connection on top of the professional working connection, I don't know how I would have come out of it. He absolutely kept me healthy.
When their time together came to a close, Diego was transferred to another handler, and Logan came to Kansas City to pursue an MFA in acting and directing at UMKC, all the while trying in vain to monitor his partner's retirement eligibility. They would be apart for 7 long years before being reunited in 2012 after Logan mounted a social media campaign to find his beloved boy.
It's been fantastic. I picked him up 3 years ago now and brought him back home. He still wants to work. All of his training is still second nature. When he goes into a new space, he always does a left to right cursory check of the room, looks at everything, smells everything, then says, "Okay, Dad, it's good. Now I'm just gonna lay down and somebody better come pet me." So he's living a pretty wonderful life of retirement.
But we may have never heard about their adventures if this past March, while performing in the Heart of America Shakespeare Festival's Merchant of Venice, Logan hadn't posed a question to fellow actor Robert Gibby Brand.
I said, "Hey, what one-man shows would be good for Fringe that are 60 minutes? And he said, "Oh, that's easy, yours." And so that kind of planted the seed. It took me probably about 3 months to do the initial script and then a month to do the rewrites. And it was very much a double-edged sword. I spent a lot of time doing research, and sometimes that would trigger my PTSD. And I would find that I had just gone down that rabbit hole. Other times it was very cathartic to look at a traumatic event. Now that I have perspective and distance from it, and break it down and go, why did I act the way I did? I worked very hard to never take a stance whether the war was good, whether it was right, whether we were lied to or we not. That's not what the story's about. It's just about my interaction with the dog.
And it's an interaction that has deeply resonated with audiences, a fact that surprised Logan on his first playwriting effort.
It's the type of theater I think all artists want to do. We want to affect a change in our audience's minds. And suddenly I was seeing that happen right in front of me.
And then I saw it. Diego, come here, buddy!
The show ends, everyone claps, and Diego is swarmed with people to pet him, and I'm swarmed with people that are shaking my hand and hugging me and crying. I had one veteran pull me to the side. He fought in Vietnam, and he told me that if somebody from his generation had been able to tell their story in this way, he wouldn't have spent 30 years wandering in darkness. So when I have a vet tell me something like that, I have to continue telling this story. I think vets telling their stories would be a game changer. So I hope the show inspires, if it inspires one vet to write a poem, then all my productions have succeeded.
Good boy. Well, looks like once again we are pretty much out of time and space.
But Arts Upload returns next week with some Show Me Shakespeare and Ensemble Iberica.
Till then, happily here inside the rabbit hole, or one version of it. I'm Randy Mason.
And I'm Maris Aylward. Thanks for watching.
This really is kind of a moment for the two of you, right? Doesn't mean so much to me because
it's a moment.
It's
a moment.
It's a shame to put a shadow on that moment.
Well, it is. That's the whole thing about Saltaire, you know, it was supposedly kind of one of those cursed resorts. The original one was a big hit for a while, and then it burned down, and you know, Herc saw it after, you know, almost at dark one night driving back from LA to Lawrence, and he looked over and he saw just the framework of it with the sun going down, and he thought, I got to make a movie about that because it just looks so creepy. And the movie is creepy. And Herc is the man, and the man is creepy. Give me 5. 5 for Herc. For Herc shoes. Rock on.
Rock on.
Production funding for Arts Upload has been provided in part by Muriel McBrien Kaufman Foundation, Hall Family Foundation, the Hartwig Family, Francis Family Foundation, Richard J. Stern Foundation for the Arts, Courtney S. Turner Charitable Trust, and by viewers like you. Thank you.